Hello everyone, I'm Sébastien Chopin. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Nuxt Hub to add AI and blob storage features to your Nuxt application. Here I added the Nuxt Hub core module and enabled AI and blob. I have my main component where I display an input optip file where I can select an image and it will call my API with a post request with my image in it and expecting a description. Right now, my API request is, my API endpoint is sending back to do. So let's work on this. But in order to add AI, I need to run npx Nuxt Hub link because it needs to communicate with my Cloudflare account. Let's link my project with my ATDemo team, create EMG AI project in Europe. If I open the admin.hub.nuxt.com in my team, I can see that I connected my Cloudflare account using Workers Free. I am also on the free plan, which is up to 5 projects. And if I check the project, I can see my created project, but not deployed. So let's finish it before deploying it to the edge. In our API endpoint, we are going to call hubai.run to run our Lava model, which takes as arguments a prompt, so describe the image in one sentence, and the image as a specific format that I created above, which is an array of number, and let's say the max token of 100. This looks good. I also want to store the image in my bucket. So for this, I'm using the hub blob.put using the image file name, image here, and I want to store the custom metadata, the description as custom metadata, which could be useful if I use the API to list the image, and this way I can have the alt ready. So let's try again now, uploading a car image. Let's see what the AI will answer. And we have our description. If I open the DevTools, I will have another tab called HubBlob, where I can see my uploaded image. And all of this is happening locally in my .data directory. But if I want to deploy my project, I can run the npx Nuxt Hub deploy command that is going to build my project for production, deploy it to my Cloudflare pages account, and create the R2 bucket and the AI binding without me doing anything except waiting for it to be deployed. So let's go back on the admin here. And if I open this, I can see my production deploy, which is already ready. If I visit the site and select this mountain image, and I have my description, I don't have the DevTools, but I can go to my admin and open the blob tab. And same here, I can see my beautiful mountain with the description. And this is how you can add AI and blob storage in your Nuxt application.
Hello, hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back from break. Up next, we have Vadim Smirnov We're thrilled for him to join us. He'll be discussing Boost Your Workflow, simplifying rich text editor setup with CK Editor Builder. Vadim is passionate developer advocate who specializes in creating content that resonates with users. Outside his technical expertise, he's an avid football fan and music lover, bringing a unique perspective to his work. Let's dive into how we can enhance our development processes. Welcome to the stage, Vadim.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see and hear me really well. It's really exciting and amazing to speak for you and with you. And I really want to give a huge shout out to event organizers for putting this event together and giving me an opportunity to be a part of it. But for now, let's get into my talk. So as it was mentioned before, my talk is called Boost Your Workflow, Simplifying Rich Text Editor Setup with CK Editor Builder. And before we go even further with the talk, I would like to introduce myself to make this talk more personal and to meet each other on a more personal level. So as I mentioned, my name is Vadim Smirnov, and I'm a developer advocate here at CK Editor. I'm based in a relatively small, beautiful city called Gdańsk in Poland. I'm a developer advocate with multiple years of experience. I was lucky enough to work with different early stage startup and different domains and to experience different things. But now I'm fully focused and dedicated to CK Editor to make developer experience amazing and to help you folks build cool things. And yeah, and on a more personal level, I'm a football fan for my fellow American folks, soccer. And yeah, this is my passion. I really love it. But enough about me. Let's get into the talk. So what are we going to talk about? We will start from giving enough context for those who are not familiar with the CK Editor. So we'll touch on the topic, what is CK Editor? Next, we will talk about what is CK Editor's Builder. So we will cover the topics like what the product is. Next, we will cover what the CK Editor's Builder capable of. And last but not least, how you can actually benefit from it and how you can use it and how you can see the value from the product, not only from the CK Editor itself, but the overall ecosystem of the CK Editor. But let's start with the CK Editor. What is CK Editor, the first part? So just to provide enough context for those who are not very familiar with the product itself. So CK Editor is a WYSIWYG or rich text editor, whatever you want to call it. It's a really highly customizable, feature-rich text editor that can adapt to any use case I can think of. And it's actually very customizable and very flexible, so you can make sure that it's tailored to your exact expectations and your exact needs, depending on which project you're building. And as you see at the bottom of this slide, we support all of the mainstream-ish frameworks, and also you can bootstrap a project with CK Editor with vanilla JavaScript. So this is supported by Builder as well, and I will mention it a bit later. Why is it important? And as I mentioned, CK Editor is extremely flexible and customizable, and we have over 100 plugins in our ecosystem. And here you can see me scrolling the page with all of the plugins with information of what each plugin is. So you can basically go to a website and explore this page to see what is available with the product, what is available within the ecosystem, and how you can actually use that. Alternatively, if you're more interested in more developer-focused information, you can navigate the docs. We have really well-crafted docs for each plugin, so you can just explore how you can actually use specific plugins and what is available from the developer's perspective point of view. But now let's address one problem. So each tool should solve some kind of issue. So let's address one issue. So there is a typical tedious process, as I see it. At least I see it as a tedious process. Maybe you will see it differently, but let's check if we're on the same page. So this process for me personally, it consists of 4 steps. The first step is you're building something and you have some kind of issue or you need to implement a certain feature and you find a good library or tool and you feel like, okay, this is it. I love that. And I feel like this product can actually help me to overcome the issue or just implement a specific feature. So you feel like you're on a good track. And then you try to install it and configure manually, and you feel like, yeah, that's a little bit tricky. That's not that fun. That's not that easy because it's not what documented, or something is unclear to me personally, or something is not clear because I don't have a specific set of skills or whatever else. And you eventually face a lot of issues and not sure how to get value from the tool you plan to use. And you're even not sure if the tool is exactly what you need. Maybe you were wrong at the beginning when calling it a right solution for your problem, but you were not able to make this call at this point because you still are trying to set up the project. You're still trying to bootstrap the product. And as the result of that, if you're lucky enough, you will have everything functional and maybe 50-50. Maybe you're lucky and the product is good and it fits your use case, or it's not the case. But in any scenario, you lose precious time, you lose energy, and you're not really satisfied with the overall process. And this is what CK Editor 5 Builder actually solves. This is exactly the main purpose why we created this product. This is exactly the main purpose why it exists in the first place. With Builder, according to our user research, when we talked about that with our users who actually use the Builder, it was verified by them that they were able to bootstrap the projects with CK Editor a lot faster. But now let's actually point to specific problems that Builder addresses and solves. First of those is Builder generates a project with pre-configured feature-rich CK Editor out of the box. So CK Editor also not a simple tool if you never worked with it. So some configurations might be confusing. So it's really good to see a starting point with some kind of pre-built configuration, so you can understand like, okay, this is how it should look, and I can actually, customize it even further. And now I have like a good starting point on how I can use the product. And the second issue the Builder addresses, the CK Editor ecosystem is really rich. As I mentioned before, there are over 100 plugins, so it might be confusing to understand which plugins are necessary for you, so you don't, add like a lot of like redundant or unnecessary plugins that are not important for you specifically, but you were not well informed how to pick the right ones. So Builder actually reduces the anxiety of decision-making process with multiple options and various features. So let's actually see it in action just to understand, like, these are just words, but we want to see it in action. So let's see the actual steps of using the Builder. The first step is to pick the preset. With CK Editor Builder, we have a lot of presets that are designed for a specific use case. And as you can see on the left side, you can see the list of presets with this brief explanation of what this preset does. And on the right side, you can see the actual output, how the editor will look. So you can actually, it's interactable. It's not just a static thing. So you can actually mess with it and see if you like it or not to kind of pick the right preset for you. Alternatively, obviously, you can always go with like a blank preset and pick the features manually. And that leads us to the next step, selecting features. Obviously, when you work with presets, if you picked one of the available presets, you have a lot of features pre-selected for you already, but it doesn't mean that you can't pick the features manually. So obviously you can just, write the name of the feature, and our powerful search will kind of filter the stuff for you, so you can easily find the right plugins for you to make the setup completed. And just, you can also verify it in real time. As soon as you selected the feature, it's available in your developer mode editor on the right side, so you can test if it's exactly the feature you want, or it's something that doesn't work smoothly for you. So the next step is the toolbar configuration. And this is the step when you can actually customize the behavior of the toolbar a little bit. You can add like extra functional elements like file, like typical Google Docs experience, the top bar of it. And also, once you have like a lot of plugins, you can select the option to kind of hide the overflowing plugins under the 3 dots icon, just to kind of make the setup more clean. So you can also customize it to make it look simple, clean, and very intuitive for you to use. Or you don't want to mess with it, and you can stick with the default configurations, because those also make sense for the majority of use cases. But again, it's better to try it for yourself to see what works the best for you. So Again, navigate to the CK Editor's Builder page and just try it out just to see how it actually can look for you. And the last step is actually generating the project. And here we have a couple of options. As I mentioned, we support React, Vue, Angular, and Vanilla.js. You can pick one of the available options. You can pick the self-hosted option for the integration method, and then you can download the project. It's a zip archive, and basically all of the project, like the same way you will download the zip from the GitHub. Alternatively, you can select the option with the copy code snippets, which has all of the snippets and every single step to have the complete setup if you have a project locally with React, Vue, or Angular already created. Or you can basically edit it on StackBlitz if you want to mess with the setup without actually downloading the project or doing something manual. You want just a fully functional setup out of the box. So let's really quickly reiterate and see how the process now looks without Builder. So you find out about the product, you see some kind of issues, you struggle with the setup, and yes, you at the end of the day, you can have a fully functional setup, but at the same time, it's very time and energy consuming process, and the chances are high that the product is not good. It's not for you. So you invested a lot of time for something just to verify that you need to look for another options to solve specific problems. However, with Builder guides you through the process itself. So it basically guides you through the whole setup process. Builder generates the starter projects for you. So you don't have to kind of manually set up things. You don't have to manually configure things. And at the end of the day, you get fully functional setup, fast and effective. So let's now talk about the code specifically just to see what actually Builder gives to you. Obviously, we will not talk about React or Angular because it doesn't make sense for our event. So this is the starter project that you get if you pick the Vue option with like downloaded options. So this is like the exact file structure of the archive, so of the zip file if you download the project from the Builder. So apologies for that. So as you can see, we get an app.vue file, main.js file, and style.css file for some additional styling and very traditional, very typical stuff for any JavaScript project you can think of. So nothing extra. We don't force you to use any specific technology stack. So we give you the bare minimum so you can function, so you can get a functional project. So the next thing, I just want to confirm that we don't provide like any extra dependencies, only the necessary stuff. So we get some CK editor packages, Vite, Vue, and obviously the the CK editor 5 Vue package, just to make sure that the CK editor functions in your Vue setup. So now let's actually break down the app.vue file just to see what you get inside the file where the CK editor actually lives and how it functions. So this is the first part, obviously template. You can get, you will get a template with some markup, and on the lowest level node, you will get a CK editor component with some additional data passed, so the editor functions. Next, you get some imports. I didn't pick a very complex option. Obviously, the production-ready setups have a lot of more plugins, but this is enough for you to understand how the overall setup can look like. So you can see a bunch of free plugins like Autolink, Bullet Essentials, Italic, and stuff like that, and AI Assistant and OpenAI Text Editor Adapter. This is a part of our premium ecosystem, and AI Assistant is a great thing to test if you want to get a sense of what is available with the premium features, and obviously some styling so the editor looks good, so it functions as well. And this is the example of the link configuration. So each plugin has its dedicated configuration, so you can configure it to your needs and add some extra options to make sure that the plugin looks and functions as you expected, and you can configure additional stuff. As you can see, like we have default protocol targets to external links and stuff like that. And this is an example of how you can actually move it a bit forward. And I just added one extra configuration, which is allowed protocol, just to make it more secure and more tailored for your exact experience. So this is what you get from the builder. Now you understand what builder is, what problem it solves, and what you can get from it. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to speak for you. And now I have some time for Q&A for you folks. Appreciate the opportunity to speak for you and with you.
Wonderful. Thank you. We do have a few questions for you. First off, the first one we have is, do you have bundle size metrics in the builder?
No, we don't provide bundle size metrics in the builder. However, you can obviously use third-party stuff. Like there is no limitations because there are some specific libraries, NPM packages that allow you to do that. So you're not limited from using those, but the builder itself doesn't provide anything specific.
Okay, great. Thank you. Up next, when integrating CK Editor with Nuxt, what are some of the most useful customizable presets, wow, I can read today, and toolbar configurations that developers can leverage to streamline their workflows?
That's a tricky question, actually. I'm trying to understand it a little bit better just to make sure that I responded correctly. Let me read it once again. What are some most useful customizable presets? I would say go with the feature reach preset, because feature reach is not there are not a lot of plugins, so it's like a lot of plugins that you can feel the value in the setup. So it's not like too minimal, it's not too trivial, not too simple, but it's not overcrowded, not overbloated. So it's not like overwhelming for you to understand how to actually use it.
Thank you. Okay, couple more. What are the recommended best practices for managing large toolbars and plugins within CK Editor to avoid impacting performance of a Nuxt app?
In general, so the toolbar itself, like our customizations that are available with the builder, they will not affect the Nuxt behavior, the overall behavior, the performance of the app directly. However, you can use the specific options to customize and kind of improve the user experience, not developer experience. So obviously you can hide like external stuff, so it lazy loads in a way-ish. Well, it's not really lazy loading, but at least like you don't throw everything you have into the layout immediately. And also you can optimize the behavior. Like for example, for certain use cases, you want like a bubble toolbar, which appears only when you select specific part of text in the editor. So you can actually like improve the user experience, not really the developer experience using the builder itself.
Great, thank you. Okay, personal question. How many people accidentally say KC Editor instead of CK Editor?
That's a good one. Actually, to be honest, this is the first time I hear that. So, hey, congrats. You're the first person I heard that from. So
because I don't know if it's because I'm always reading it that I'm like, I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to mix them up. So maybe it's just a me thing.
Well, maybe actually now when you mention it, maybe I did it a couple of times accidentally. So yeah, that could be the case that I did it as well. So
does CK Editor contain a file uploader for Nuxt application?
Yes, we have, well, I mean, kind of. So it's like we have a plugin called CK Box. So this plugin, if you explore it in the documentation, you can see that it offers a lot of things to manage and store files. So basically, this is exactly the case for file uploading and actually managing static assets like images, for example.
Okay, thank you. How does real-time collaboration work with CK Editor technology-wise?
Oof. To be honest, this topic deserved a dedicated talk because it's quite a large topic. So I don't know how to respond to that briefly. To be honest,
Hasn't Myrna done a talk on this before? I feel like she has.
Could be. Yeah, that could be the case. I don't really remember, but still, like it's the topic itself is quite large. That's what I wanted to say. Just
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah. So it's like it will be difficult to respond to that in 1 minute ish time. So, but you can actually just reach to me on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever else, and just like we can take it from there, and I will just explain and just maybe even like jump on a call and just show you how it works.
That'd be cool. All right. A few more questions of how does CK Editor manage content security and validation, especially with user-generated content in a Nuxt.js setup? Does it have built-in ways to sanitize or filter content?
That's a good question as well, because content security. Well, first of all, CK Editor takes security really seriously, so it's not like exposing anything, anything you don't want to be exposed. However, it's a pretty large topic. So in order to address that stuff, like we should go through like more specific use cases, because like on a high level, it depends. So like the best I can tell at the moment, like we should just go into more specific details and examples. So again, if you want to talk about that, I would really love to be more specific, because the topic is too large and I want to actually address the question you have.
We are getting great talk ideas for the future of
Yeah.
CK Editor. I'm excited about this. All right.
And I'm down for that.
Yes. Is it safe to use the AI assistant feature? Will any data entered in the editor be shared?
Well, I mean, you can first of all, you can use it I think it's 4 adapters at the moment. I mostly use OpenAI adapter. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the privacy and security, you can actually configure the usage of the plugin, like if you use the API of OpenAI, not to expose the data. So it's pretty safe. Like I want to say that you can configure everything, and it's gonna be good and safe for you. So there is no data is exposed unless you want it to be. Let's say it that way.
Last question. What's your favorite feature in CK Editor that you think makes it stand out from other editors?
Honestly, what makes CK Editor stand out from other editors is not a specific feature or plugin, it's the amount of plugins and the amount of like options you can work with, you can actually customize and make it your own. Because I really like making setups for a specific use case. For example, very recently, I published an article about invoice generator, and I actually designed a set of plugins this way. So I have like a very specific project for invoices specifically. So I feel like the extensibility and flexibility of CK Editor is what makes it shines. So it's not the specific feature, but the amount of but the ability to make it your own. So it's not the specific thing, but the ability to kind of, personalize it. So that's my personal opinion. The specific feature, it's tricky to say. They're all cool in a way. So it's again, you should play around and see what makes more sense to you.
Great. Thank you, Vadim. That is the
Thank you so much.
End of our questions. Thank you again. All right, y'all. We have, before we go to Thorsten, we have a quick few things to show you, like View School. If you've been looking to sharpen your Vue skills, this is a chance. Vue School's premium content is now 60% off, giving you access to hundreds of hours of expert tutorials for less than 60 per. Now, I skipped lines. It happens. Vue School's premium content is now 60% off, giving you access to hundreds of hours of expert tutorials for less than you would probably spend on a cup of coffee each month. Whether you're starting out brushing up your advanced topics, there's something for everyone. Head over to vue.school/BF24 and grab this deal while it lasts. And you can check out, we have the Black Friday sales. Yes. So you can check out Master Your Vue.js. These are all the different courses and lessons that they have. I'm definitely looking forward to this. I've been rebuilding my Azure site for forever. So I feel like that's where I'm going to go check out first. And these are just a few more of the courses that you can check out. So definitely take time. Again, that is view.school/BF24 to get the discounts there. All right. And up next, we have Thorsten Schichap. Thank you for joining us. He is a computer scientist and web engineer with expertise as a full stack software developer and web consultant. He combines technical skills and strategic insights to deliver innovative web solutions that drive success. Welcome to the stage, Thorsten.
Hello, everybody. So that is a hard follow-up for me after such a great talk. But let's relax everybody together a little bit, because I will talk with you about 3D and stuff like that. You can build cool things in the web. My name is Thorsten. Thanks for the warm welcoming. You can find me online on various sources. If you want to reach out after the talk to me, you can do so on various platforms. You will have my private website always on the bottom left of the screen. So if you did not understand something, just reach out to me. Like already said, I'm a computer scientist and web engineer with a master's degree, currently self-employed as a full stack developer based in Germany. But let's talk first about how we can achieve a 3D in the web. Of course, we all know that 3D will go through the GPU at some point. So the GPU is the base layer that we must build on. On top of the GPU, we have something that is a render API. In our case, for web development, it's WebGL. So it's a low-level API in the browser that we can communicate through directly with the GPU. It is rather complex. So in order to get a little bit of an upstream, a better user experience, we can use dependencies and libraries such as Three.js so that we can easier talk with the GPU. And on top of that, there is in the Nuxt and Vue ecosystem a Trest.js. It is a declarative approach to code 3D things in the web. And I will use Trest.js in the following slides to show you how it is done. And the ecosystem is quite big. So in Trest, you also find some other libraries like CentOS or stuff like this. Post-processing is also present. That is not in the core, but there are several packages for it. So how do we can play with the 3D? So let's say we want to build a 3D playground for ourselves in order to play a little bit. So the first thing is that we need an API. Like already said, the render API is WebGL. And when we have the render API, we need a canvas where we can draw our 3D animations in. In our case, you see on the slides now on the left side a little bit of code. And on the right side, you see the result of the code in real time. So currently, we have a blank window on the right because nothing is in our component in Nuxt on the left side. So let's set the Trest canvas first. The Trest canvas is really just a DOM element. You can place it anywhere. You can have a top footer, a footer on the bottom, a top bar on the top. That doesn't matter. In our case, it is full screen, but it does not have to. And the clear color is something that is set. So in our case, maybe a sky or something like that, a warm blue. We can build our 3D scene in front of it. So now we need a world, the third thing in the pipeline. Actually, the world is already there when you start Trest and if you load the canvas in. But in order to see it better, we use a grid helper and an X helper so that we see a little bit more the scene and the world itself. And like you see, it already is a 3D scene. I can click and I can drag into it. But I tricked you a little bit here because, of course, that is not everything. In order to achieve this goal, we need a camera to see something. Currently, we are in the main camera, but I already but I also added a second camera, a perspective camera, just so that you can see. We can have multiple cameras. Maybe you have a game later where you can switch between cameras. And here we have a small camera that is pointing to the center, and we ourselves are the second camera observing the scene. After the camera, we need, of course, lights to see something and later to drop maybe shadows or some cool stuff like that. And therefore, there are different light sources. Here, we have a directional light. The directional light helper is this box you see now next to the camera itself. And it has a starting point here at the point where the red lines are crossing, and it has a real box that is the light that the light is in. So the light is not outside. The directional light is always only in this box. Other than the ambient light. The ambient light is a light that is always anywhere. It cannot cast a shadow, but it will give you maybe a light from the back of an object when you cast a shadow in one direction. So that ambient light has 0.5 intensity, and our directional light has a 1.2, so it will be stronger. So now we have lights. What should we do next? Of course, meshes. In this example, I created two meshes. I created one mesh, one trash mesh, that has a box geometry in it. That is the cube. And another trash mesh that is a plane geometry, that is the ground. Both need a material. The box all got a normal material, so each side has another color. And the plane always only has one color, in this case, a flat color, so the ground is grayish. It looks a little bit weird at the moment, doesn't it? Because we do not have shadows yet. This is the next thing we want to do, add shadows. The shadow prop is really just like in this declarative approach, a property you can set. It's also a prop that you can have a ref bound to a false or true, so you can enable and disable shadows. But you must cast a shadow and you must receive a shadow. So the plane receives it and the cube will throw the shadow. And of course, because the plane has an end at this point, the shadow will not go any further. Let's clean up the scene a little bit because the helper boxes are getting quite big. So we now only have the gray, the helper grid and nothing else in the scene except our own camera where we are in at the moment. So a cube is very boring. So the next thing we want to do is load some models. For example, here I loaded a windmill model in the scene. It's just something to do with GLTF files. A GLTF file is a JSON representation of a file. And in this JSON file, all the informations are stuck. There is the meshes, what materials to use, what scenes are in there, etc. And this is a primitive in line 10 where we passed our windmill model into it so that we can see it in our scene. Okay, cool. Now we have a windmill, but the wind turbine is not rotating at the moment. This is also something we can achieve quite easily. We can add a render loop. So there is in address something called use loop. And inside this, we have on before render that is triggered each time a frame is rendered. And there is a delta and also an elapsed. And if you are familiar a little bit with game development, maybe in Unity or something like that, you already know how to use delta and elapsed. And here I only say, okay, let's get the wind turbine. There's just some code in the background to get only the part of the whole model because we do not want the whole windmill to turn it, only the wind turbine. And then on each frame, we want to set the X of this little small mesh with an arbitrary value. This is currently rather high, so it's spinning quite fast, but reducing this will slow it down. Okay. So with all of this, we can really build a game inside the browser. And this is a proof of concept we made in a friends group. Just to be clear, it's a proof of concept. We are all not getting paid for it, but we really have fun with it. And so we try to find things we can do with it and also where the limits are in order to tickle out a little bit what's possible in the browser and whatnot. So currently it is night. You see a value at the top. It is 18 o'clock, so 6 p.m. and the time is ticking. So we have some algorithm in the background that is that will represent a virtual time. And we can speed up the virtual time, double the time, and we can also triple the time. And at some point, the sun has gone up, and we now have some cool shadows here in the background. You see behind the island, the easy and small technique I showed you earlier, how to cast and receive shadows, is done here. It's the same thing. The water is a little bit more complicated because it's not only a plane, it's rather has a shadow, how you call it? A shader. Thank you very much. It's a shader that is applied to a plane in order to achieve such a low poly water filter. And now we can see how the scene is done by enabling a camera helper, a lights helper, disabling the fog, and speed up the time a little bit. So now you see the sun is nothing else than a directional light that is moving like a sun. It has a sunset and it has a sun rise. And the clear color of the trace canvas I showed you earlier is nothing else than changing the color according to the sun positioning and the time. Okay, cool. So now we can do other things like there are click events in Nuxt. You all know them, add click. And we can also achieve this by add click on models, like on this build area. We click on the build area. We see, hey, you have a empty building area. We can build something here. Okay, I clicked it. I must reuse the time, speed up the time. The building is, of course, building itself. And now we have a small building there. And we can upgrade it. And it will produce gold for us because it's an idle game, like the title assumes. Okay, because time is running short, there are so many cool things that could be shown here, so many concepts that are inside here. There are problems with the time tick. We could go deeper in the shaders of the water. The shadows are very difficult to do at some point because just to show and give you an idea, if you do not get the bias right, you get this grizzly effect here maybe, so that the shadows are not working, or shadow problems also occur if you are too far away from your object and the objects detach, so that like you can not quite see now, but maybe in some seconds, that shadows detach from objects. So the shadows are there, but they are far away from the objects. Okay, there are pros and cons on gaming in the browser. Of course, I think just press pause here, I would say, if we would be on YouTube. But of course, you do not have to install something. You have quick possibilities to distribute new versions. It will work on all on all end mobile devices. It can be without installing on iOS versus Windows versus Linux and some stuff like that. But you are really limited when it goes to performance. And going into performance, we could also talk about the Draco compression to make models even smaller, or hardware accelerations or something like that. And also a big negative downside is that it is not as easy to get maybe a game controller working with it. Okay. That's for my talk. Thank you very much. I have here on the last slide some links for you. The code of this proof of concept is open source, so you can now go to GitHub and maybe give it a star if you would like to see updates in the future. We are not quite very far. You can only build 2 buildings at the moment, and the building's getting bigger if you upgrade them. So maybe you can open it in a second tab and play with it a little bit in order to get your windmill, because it is currently the most expensive building we have in the game. This is the game to play with, slick.net. The code is on the first one. If the DNS is not updated yet in your country, you can also go on the dev branch, because we have no major version or minor version at the moment. And a big thanks to Andreas, one of the best friends that helped me here. Without him, this would not be possible. So thanks again. And I'm open for some questions I heard.
Wonderful. Thank you. We do have a few questions for you. All right. First one, when working with WebGL in Nuxt, what are some of the most critical performance considerations, especially in terms of ensuring smooth 3D experiences for users in lower end devices?
So the end of the lower end devices is heavily depending on what the user must load. We in our mini game encountered the problem that models can get very fast, very big. And so we now using the Draco compression for tackling this issue. But this, on the other hand, can raise some race condition problems. So there's a little bit you must always tackle out and try your best. But in the end, for smaller things, like maybe you have an e-commerce web shop selling clothes, shoes or something, and you want a user to rotate your shoe and change the material of the shoe, then this is something very easy to do. On the other hand, really complex games are difficult, but we're trying it anyway.
I like it. Thank you. All right. When adding 3D experiences to a Nuxt app, how do you handle state management, especially when working with interactive elements that change in real time based on user input?
Okay, so this is something we also have done here. So the code is open source. You can have a look in it. But in the end, we use the Pinia store, and we have full flexibility with it. So we can store all kinds of data we want to. We could have a backend, but this proof of concept is only in the browser at the moment. But we have full reactivity on the things we do. And as long as we stay in the declarative approach, like Tress wants you to do, we have no downsides. Of course, some things, so Tress is not feature complete yet. Some things are not as easy to do. So sometimes you have to go back in the imperative approach, but then you have to manage your scene yourself. And then you have to do this kind of state management, adding to scenes and deleting from scenes all by manual. And then it's quite good to have some unit tests in the end.
Thank you. And up next, given the potential for VR and AR integrations, how well do WebGL and 3JS support immersive experiences beyond the browser?
So that is something on my slide on the con side of the game, gaming in browser, so that it is not as easy to get hardware things run in the browser. But in the end, if the user is clever enough, you can, of course, pipe it. And in 3JS, there are really great examples for enhancing controllers, VR headset, and stuff like that. That is not yet possible in Tress if you just see the Tress roadmap. But of course, Tress is built on 3, so everything from 3 you can use there. In the end, you just fall back into another language and have to watch your state management yourself.
All right. And let's see, a few more questions of what are the best ways to manage accessibility for 3D elements?
That is a really good question. Oh boy. So for this game, we had 2 things that are not fully tackled yet. The first one is accessibility for color blindness. This we tried to already fix by using a texture image that is just a PNG file that has texture coordinates, and we map to the object. So it is very easy for us to just change this PNG texture file in order to have color blindness mode or dark mode, light mode, etc. pp. But for accessibility with click events, we have no solution yet. So if someone has a good idea, hit us up, because that is something we are not yet at the moment in our pipeline there.
Thank you. And 2 more questions. Have you tried implementing WebSockets for multiplayer games in the browser?
Not yet. We would really love to. Of course, in the end, this is possible. 100%, because others already did it. There are demos and stuff like that out there already. And because in Nuxt we have such a big ecosystem and such a cool framework, we can enhance that. And we have just link it with our 3D scene. And because of the declarative approach, etc. pp, it is really easy, but not yet in this game.
Okay. And let's see. Are there any limits you found from Tress compared to 3?
Yes, there are some. I think it's unfair now to give a list of things that we are unhappy of Tress, because a big shout out and thanks to Alvaro at this point. I almost forgot. We talked yesterday a little bit. The problem is that Tress is not fully feature complete yet, but in the end, it's built on 3. So if you want to do something and feel, it's maybe not possible in Tress, yeah, but it is possible in 3, then just do it. You can always jump back. You can always link it. You have no limits in the end, because you do not lose 3JS when you use Tress.js. Tress.js is just helping you, giving you cool DOM elements you can use in a declarative approach, but in the end, it is 3.
All right. And last question, we had one more sneak in, but uh, I have a follow-up on their question. So their question is, can I create maps using this 3D approach? And it popped in my head. I know someone at Mapped In doing indoor mapping experiences, and I'm like, y'all should be friends.
We should.
Trace and Mapped In. So I need to introduce you.
Yeah, please,
Definitely, you
please
guys need to
do.
be friends. But
Please do. Or hit me. I have here. Go hit me on the web. Find me somewhere because I do not know where the question was now. But yeah, sure. Let's talk.
yay. And can someone create maps using this 3D approach?
So you mean by scanning real life doors and in maps, or maps like in computer games?
Computer games.
Computer games. Yeah, you can build models with this approach. Of course, you have primitives you can use, but it's very tedious. So we also used Blender in the end to create our models and just imported them via GLTF files into 3ds. But building it directly in the web, I think you could create a cool editor on the web and then make an export out of it. That would be, I could see uses in the real world. But for an own game, creating inside this your map is tighter tedious.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Thorsten.
Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. Up next, we get to go to break. So enjoy your break. And while you're on break, make sure you're sharing your LinkedIn or any social media. Go check out Bitterbrains and all of everyone in the expo. There's lots to do. See you back soon.
Hey everyone, it's Michael Thiessen here, and I am your instructor for Mastering Nuxt 3. And Mastering Nuxt 3 is a really awesome course if you are looking to learn Nuxt 3. We start from the very beginning with understanding how routing works, how you can put together dynamic routes with children, nested, and we go from there all the way down to the back end. We cover a whole wide array of things that will help you to build real-world full-stack applications with Nuxt 3.
All right, welcome back from break, everyone. Before we dive into with our next speaker, we got to talk about these giveaways. Have y'all found the ducks yet? If you are curious what we're talking about, in the Veto site under the expo, go to the last one and go to giveaways. And have you spotted the 3 ducks? They are there. I was not told about them beforehand, but I was able to find them. They are there. I don't get to win one of these. So please go submit, go win, because got your eyes peeled. We've hidden 3 birds around the conference space: duck, goose, and chicken. Spot all 3 and you could win $300 worth of training. Let's go. And these are our prizes of winner's choice. So definitely check that out. And up next, we have the DevStack Story Challenge. So every developer has a story. What's yours? We want to see how your journey started. Pick 3 to 4 items that represent your coding journey, snap a photo and share it on X to tag Nuxt Nation and hashtag NuxtNation24. The more creative the entry will win the prize worth $300. So go ahead, show us what makes your developer journey unique. And then, of course, we want to hear from you. How did this go? We'd love to hear what you thought of the event. So take 5 minutes to fill out our post-event survey. And as a thank you, you'll be entered into a drawing for $300 worth of View goodies. It's a quick and easy, and who knows, you might win. So just make sure that you have this done by November 29th. All right. And up next, we have Lucy Harborer. Please welcome Lucy, who is will share the talk of Can Nuxt Make Great Mobile Apps? As a developer experience engineer at Prismic and a valued member of the Nuxt team, Lucy is deeply immersed in the world of open source. She's always on the hunt for the latest innovations, and her passion for sharing knowledge shines through her work. Get ready to discover how Nuxt can transform your mobile app development. Welcome to the stage, Lucy.